there's a certain amount of information that's not getting to the public, and it's information about the genuine and very real threat to our safety from Islamist terrorists, jihadists. Now, we've seen on the streets of London, on the streets of Manchester, even on the streets of Belfast, thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people supporting Hamas. Let's just be brutally honest. That's what they're doing. They can say that they're supporting the Palestinian people, but at the end of the day, they're supporting a terrorist organization that's embedded within a civilian population and actually getting quite a lot of support. In fact, a lot of support from that civilian population, partly because they're intimidated and they're afraid, partly because they agree with the ideals of Hamas. So from the point of view of us in the UK, why does that matter? Well, we've got to really wind our way back to Afghanistan, and we've got to look at what's happened in Afghanistan and Pakistan, not just for the last 20 years, but for the last 50 years. Many of you will remember me talking about when I was at school, and kids that I was at school with from Pakistan, my friends in class when I was in first, second, third year, before things got a little bit tense between us and the Pakistani lads in our school. But back when we were all mates, they used to tell me their uncles, their cousins were fighting jihad against the Russians. This was in the 80s. And some of these people would have lived in Pakistan. Some of these people would have lived in the UK and traveled to Pakistan to fight, to go across the border. And we know that the madrasas that were training them to fight were Deobandi madrasas. We know that I think it's about between 41 and 47% of mosques in the UK are Deobandi. I think another 8 to 10% are Salafi, which is obviously another extreme form of Islam. About 3%, I believe, are Maududi inspired. So over 50% of the mosques in the UK are extremist mosques. Then, of course, you've got the Barelvi mosques, and the Barelvi would be more sort of Sufi, more sort of chilled out Muslims. They absolutely venerate Muhammad, which is a problem if you say anything about Muhammad, because obviously they then slip into extremist mode if you insult their prophet. So what we've got in the UK is a colossal threat, not from everyday normal Muslims, but from tens of thousands of people who've been radicalized. And I put a post out last week from the book Among the Mosques by Ed Hussein. And Ed Hussein is still a Muslim, and he was a radical Muslim. And in it, he tells a story about meeting a Muslim community leader in Manchester. And what this community leader said was telling. He turned around and said very simply that the vast majority of immigrants that he's seen and come across coming from places like Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan are radicalized, and they have fought in wars. They fought against the government. They've killed, and they're in the UK, and they're looking at the UK with a great deal of resentment, not with fondness, not with joy in the heart that they've been rescued from literally a fate worse than death in many cases. No, they're looking at the West and blaming the West. They're blaming the Zionists. They're blaming Israel. They're blaming the Jews. They're blaming the Christians, and they're resentful. And what this guy said was interesting. He said the younger men in the mosques, the younger British Muslims, are getting radicalized by these newcomers. So is it beyond the realms of possibility that sooner or later there will be an October the 7th style attack? There will be another mass terror attack in the UK, except on a far bigger scale and far more violent than anything that's happened before. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that could happen. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we as a country need to be prepared for that to happen. And I think it's very, very true that we're not prepared. And I think we know what will happen if it does happen. Keir Starmer will lock everybody up that's ever spoken against radical Islam or jihadism and blame them. And meanwhile, thousands of people will possibly be killed. I think we've got to very, very seriously take those issues and think about them. And then we've got to think about the what I call the Pakistani mafia, the heroin dealers, the drug dealers, the groomers, the people traffickers. Are they armed? Can they get weapons? Are they willing to do deals with jihadists and Islamists? What sort of deals have the UK government done with some of these gangs to keep a lid on the jihadists and to keep information flowing on the jihadists? How many people working in criminal networks from the Pakistani Muslim community are on the payroll of the National Crime Agency, whatever special branch is called in the UK, and possibly MI5? These are all questions that need to be asked, because what's happening is Islamism is corrupting the body politic in the UK. It's building resentment. It's manifesting itself very clearly in the two-tier policing. Why do you think that the UK government is not taking on these terror marches when they're chanting from the river to the sea? It's a genocidal chant. Everybody knows what they're saying. When they're saying from London to Gaza, they support an intifada, or whatever it is they say. They're calling for massacre of Jewish people. That's what an intifada is. That's what it did. Suicide bombings in Israel in the last intifada. In fact, two of the men that died in suicide attacks, one drowned, but I don't know how a suicide bomber ends up drowning, but there you go, were, I think, from somewhere in the Midlands. I can't remember exactly where, but they were from somewhere in the Midlands. And they went across to Israel, and one of them blew himself up in a cafe and killed a lot of people. The other one drowned. So these threats are real. And I've been appalled by what I've heard from my Jewish friends. All they're thinking about is how can they get out of the UK? Where can they go? And the ones with money are making plans, and they're going to go. And I think that'd be a massive loss to the UK. So we trade our Jewish friends and neighbours who have been prosperous, who are intelligent, beautiful, kind, warm people, for Abdul from Somalia, Mohammed from Afghanistan, and Aisha from Iraq. It's not a good trade in my view. It's not a good trade, and that's what we're doing as a country. So what happens next? Well, let's hope that I'm wrong. In the same way I said that about the other doom and gloom video made about nuclear war. And hopefully with Trump getting to power, common sense and wise heads will prevail. But the truth of the matter is, we don't know, and we can't know until it happens. And I don't have any trust in this government. Sadly, I don't have much trust in the security service. Yes, I know they prevent a lot, but the scale of this thing is off the chart. So anyway, that's a very, very cheerful little video for a Saturday afternoon. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments down below. Like and subscribe. Really important that you subscribe to this channel, that we push this channel up the rankings. Also, if you could go to my new channel, Counter Media, I'm going to be putting some different content on that. I want to try and get some good interviews. So I'm taking my time to build it. But, you know, if you guys dive onto that channel, watch some of the videos, obviously we want to build that channel up. And the quicker we get to the stage of getting it into a situation where it can be monetized, obviously the better. And again, I want to thank everybody that supported me. I mean, I don't, as a rule, I have not asked for a penny off people until this year, and I had to because of the situation I was in, because of basically being cancelled in the business I do. And I'm not going to go into any more than that, but people who were very influential in my business started sharing the good news about my connections with Tommy. I had a good run of it. I lost a job a few years ago because of the movement, and I've done okay with the business up until now, but now it's starting to bite. So anyone that supported me, it means that I can keep doing what I'm doing. It's as simple as that. The money goes on flights, it goes on accommodation when I come across, it goes on equipment, it goes on websites and web design and IT guys that we've got working on the pledge and all sorts of other projects. All this stuff costs money, so I do appreciate it, and thank you very sincerely. And if anybody wants to support me, there's links in the description, but only if you feel led to, and only if you feel that it's the right thing to do. I'm never going to pressure and ask people to do something that they don't feel comfortable doing. Guys, again, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting the channel, and let's hope I'm wrong about this video, but I feel there's something coming, and I don't think we're prepared, and I think that's something we need to really think about, how we get prepared. See you all soon.